everyone. Welcome back to our daily English practice podcast. I'm Emmy, and I'm really excited to be here with you again today.
And I'm Jack. We're very happy you're joining us today to practice English together. Whether you're listening in the morning, afternoon, or evening, we're glad you're here.
If you're new to our podcast, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our daily episodes. We try to keep things simple, clear, and helpful for English learners.
That's right. Every day we talk about a small part of English and explain it in a natural conversation so it feels easier to understand.
So, Jack, I want to start today's episode with a fun question.
Oh no, when you say fun question, it usually means something surprising.
Maybe. Okay, here it is. If you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do?
Wow, that's a dangerous question. I think I would travel around the world first. I've always wanted to visit many different countries.
That sounds amazing. I think I would probably buy a beautiful house with a huge garden and lots of flowers.
See, you just used the word would, and that is exactly our topic today.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even notice I used it.
That's actually very common. The word would is one of the most useful words in English, but many people use it without thinking about why.
Honestly, it confuses me sometimes too. I use it in many situations, but I never stop to analyze it.
And that's normal. Native speakers usually learn it naturally while speaking, but for English learners, it can be tricky.
I remember helping my friend who was learning English. One day he asked me, "Why do you say I would go sometimes and I will go other times?"
That's a great question.
Yes, but my answer was terrible. I just said, "I don't know, it just feels right."
That is the classic native speaker answer.
Exactly. But today we're going to give a better explanation.
Yes, today we're going to break down the word would and explain its most common uses.
That sounds perfect because my brain loves patterns. If I understand the pattern, I can remember it.
Great, then you're going to enjoy today's lesson because the patterns are actually very clear.
Good, because sometimes grammar explanations make my head hurt.
Don't worry, today we're going to keep things simple and relaxed.
I like that. Relaxed shoulders, relaxed brain, ready to learn.
Exactly. So let's start with a simple question. How many ways can we use would?
Maybe a lot?
Actually, in everyday conversation, there are about 5 or 6 main uses.
Only 5 or 6? That's not bad at all.
Yes, it's much easier than people think.
That already makes me feel better.
And the good news is that you probably already use most of them correctly.
Really?
Yes, today we're just making the rules clear and conscious so you can understand them better.
I like that idea, making the unconscious conscious.
Exactly. So let's begin with the first and most common use of would.
I'm ready.
We use would when we talk about imaginary or hypothetical situations, things that are not real.
Like my lottery question at the beginning.
Perfect example. You asked, if you won the lottery, what would you do?
Right, because winning the lottery is just imagination.
Exactly. So we use would to talk about the result of that imaginary situation.
For example, I would buy a house.
Or I would travel the world.
Or I would quit my job and start a new adventure.
Those are all great examples.
So what is the basic pattern?
The pattern is if plus past tense plus subject plus would plus base verb.
Wait a second, that sounds strange.
Why?
Because in the sentence, if you won the lottery, the word won is past tense, but we are talking about the future.
You're right, and it does seem a little strange at first.
So why do we use past tense there?
In hypothetical situations, we use past tense in the if clause to show that the situation is not real.
Oh, so it's like saying, this is just imagination.
Exactly.
So if I say, if I had $1 million, I would travel the world, that means I don't actually have the money.
Correct.
But if I say, if I have $1 million, I will travel the world, that sounds more possible.
Yes, it sounds like there's a real chance it might happen.
Wow, that's a really important difference.
It really is. Small grammar changes can completely change the meaning.
Can you give another example?
Sure. For example, if I were taller, I would play basketball.
That's a great question, Jack. I remember hearing something about that rule before, but I never fully understood it.
Yes, it's a common doubt. In traditional or formal English, we usually use were for all subjects when talking about hypothetical situations.
So that means we say, if I were you, if she were here, and if it were possible, right?
Exactly. Those are classic examples of hypothetical sentences where the situation is not real.
So if I say, if I was rich, is that wrong?
In formal writing, many teachers would say, yes, it's better to say if I were rich. But in everyday conversation, many native speakers say was as well.
Oh, that's actually a relief to hear because I've heard both versions many times.
Yes, language changes over time. Today, both forms are commonly accepted in casual speech.
For a moment, that rule made my brain feel a little confused.
Don't worry, the most important thing is not the word was or were. The key thing is using would in the result clause.
So, would is the signal that tells us the sentence is hypothetical.
Exactly. The basic pattern is still very simple. If plus past tense plus would plus base verb.
That actually sounds easier when you explain it that way.
Here's a helpful tip for learners. When you hear would in a sentence like this, imagine that you're entering imagination land.
Imagination land. I love that idea. It's like taking a little mental vacation while speaking English.
Sometimes imagination is the best place to practice language.
Okay, so we talked about the first use of would. What's the next one?
The second main use is for polite requests. Using would makes your questions softer and more respectful.
Can you give a comparison example?
Sure, compare these two sentences. Will you help me? And would you help me?
Will you help me sounds a bit direct.
Exactly. It's not rude, but it can sound a little demanding, depending on the situation.
But would you help me feels more polite and considerate.
Yes, it shows that you respect the other person's choice and you're asking gently.
So in workplaces or customer service, would is probably better.
Definitely. For example, would you like some coffee? Or would you mind closing the door?
I hear that phrase a lot at work. Would you mind?
It's extremely useful. For example, would you mind waiting for a moment?
Or would you mind speaking a little more slowly?
Exactly. And you can also say, would you mind if I asked you a question?
That sounds very polite and friendly.
Yes, it's a great phrase when you don't want to interrupt someone too suddenly.
But here's something that always confused me. How do we answer a would you mind question?
Good question. If you don't mind, meaning you're happy to do it, you usually say, no, not at all, or sure, no problem.
Wait, so no actually means yes in this situation?
Exactly. For example, would you mind closing the door?
And if I say no, not at all, it means I will close the door.
Right. You're saying you don't mind doing it.
English can be a little wild sometimes.
That's true, but once you understand the logic, it becomes easier.
So, no, not at all really means yes, I'll do it.
Exactly.
And what if someone really does mind?
Then they usually answer politely. For example, actually, I'm in the middle of something.
Or maybe, could I do it in a moment?
Yes, those responses sound much softer than simply saying, no, I won't.
Politeness really matters in communication.
It does. English often uses soft language to give people options and avoid sounding rude.
You also mentioned that would can be used for polite offers, right?
Yes, that's another common use.
For example, would you like something to drink?
Exactly. That sounds much more friendly than, do you want something to drink?
I can imagine a restaurant server saying that.
Yes, servers often say things like, would you like to see the menu?
Or would you like to order now?
And sometimes, would you like anything else?
And finally, would you like the check?
Those are perfect examples of polite service language.
If someone offers something, how do we respond politely?
You can simply say, yes, please.
Or that would be great.
Exactly. That's another way we use would.
For example, that would be lovely.
Or that would be perfect.
I also like saying that would be wonderful.
All of those responses sound natural and polite.
Okay, Jack. Now there's another use that always confused me.
Which one?
Using would to talk about the past.
Ah, yes, that's a very interesting one.
Can you explain it?
Sure, sometimes would describes repeated actions in the past.
So things we did regularly before?
Exactly. Things that happened many times in the past but don't happen now.
Is that similar to used to?
Yes, it's very similar.
Can you give an example?
Of course, when I was a child, I would visit my grandmother every Sunday.
That sounds very warm and nostalgic.
Yes, it's often used when people talk about memories.
So when we say, I would visit my grandmother, that sounds exactly like saying, I used to visit my grandmother, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. In that context, both expressions have almost the same meaning.
So both of them describe habits that happened regularly in the past but don't happen anymore.
Exactly. They help us talk about memories and routines from earlier in our lives.
For example, when I was in college, I would study at the library almost every night.
That's a perfect example. When you say that, I can almost imagine the scene.
Really? What do you picture?
I picture you walking across campus in the evening, carrying your books, and looking for a quiet place to study.
That's funny because that's actually very close to the truth.
And that's one of the reasons would is great for storytelling. It makes memories feel vivid and nostalgic.
I like that feeling. It almost sounds like you're describing scenes in a movie.
Exactly. It creates a gentle, reflective tone.
Let me try another example. Every night after dinner, I would walk to the library and sit in my favorite chair by the window.
That's beautiful. I can imagine the quiet library, the soft lights, and the peaceful atmosphere.
Yes, and sometimes I would listen to soft music while studying.
See, you're naturally using would to describe repeated past actions.
It really does make the story sound more personal.
That's why it's very common in nostalgic conversations.
Here's another memory. When I was a child, my grandmother would bake cookies every Saturday.
That sounds wonderful.
Every Saturday morning, the whole house would smell amazing.
I can almost smell the fresh cookies just hearing you describe it.
And my cousins and I would run into the kitchen to see if the cookies were ready.
That's such a warm childhood memory.
But now I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's the difference between would and used to?
That's an excellent question, and many learners ask that.
Because sometimes they seem exactly the same.
They are similar, but there is an important difference.
What is it?
Used to can describe both actions and states in the past.
Can you give an example of a state?
Sure. For example, I used to live in Colorado.
That's describing a situation or condition.
Exactly. Another example is, I used to be very shy when I was younger.
But can we use would in those sentences?
Not really. Would usually works only with actions, not states.
So I shouldn't say, I would live in Colorado.
Right. That sounds unnatural when you're describing a past state.
But I could say I would visit Colorado every summer.
Yes, that's perfect because visiting is an action.
So actions work, but states don't.
Exactly.
So I can say I used to be a student, but I shouldn't say I would be a student.
Correct. That's a subtle difference, but it's important.
I see. So when I'm unsure, it's safer to use used to.
Yes, used to always works for past habits or states.
And would is more like a stylistic choice for repeated actions.
Exactly. It sounds a bit more literary and descriptive.
That's probably why it's common in storytelling.
Yes, especially when people talk about childhood memories.
Okay, what's the next use of would?
Another very common one is expressing preferences, especially with the phrase, I would rather.
Oh, yes, I use that sometimes. For example, I would rather stay home than go to a crowded party.
Perfect example.
It means I prefer one option over another.
Exactly.
So I could also say I'd rather have tea than coffee.
Yes, and that contraction, I'd rather, sounds very natural.
Or maybe I'd rather walk than drive.
That's another good example.
Sometimes I also say, I'd rather not.
That's actually a very polite way to decline something.
For example, if someone says, would you like to come to the meeting?
You could reply, I'd rather not, if that's okay.
That sounds much kinder than just saying, no, I don't want to.
Exactly. It helps keep the conversation friendly.
It feels more respectful.
Yes, you're expressing your preference while still being polite.
I know someone who uses this expression all the time.
Really?
Yes, my friend often says, I'd rather stay in tonight, or I'd rather try that new restaurant.
That's a great example of everyday usage.
It does sound mature and thoughtful.
Exactly.
Is there one more important use of would?
Yes, there is. It's used in reported speech.
Oh, that's when we tell someone what another person said earlier.
Exactly.
Can you show an example?
Sure. First, let's look at direct speech. Someone might say, I will help you tomorrow.
That's the exact sentence they said.
Right. But if you report that later, you might say, he said he would help me the next day.
So will changes to would,
Exactly.
because we're talking about something that was said in the past.
Yes, and grammar usually shifts backward in time in reported speech.
For example, I could say, she told me she would call me later.
Perfect.
Or they promised they would finish the project.
That's another excellent example.
Let me try one more. My friend said she would cook dinner tonight.
That's exactly how reported speech works.
So I'm reporting something she told me earlier.
Yes, you're reporting the original promise.
Do other verbs change too when we report speech?
Yes, they often do. This process is called backshifting.
Backshifting sounds complicated.
It's actually quite simple. For example, can becomes could.
And will becomes would.
Exactly.
What about am or are?
They usually change to was or were.
I see. So the verb moves one step into the past.
That's the basic idea of backshifting in reported speech.
So if she said, I can swim, in reported speech it becomes, she said she could swim, right?
Exactly, Emmy. And another example, if he said, I am happy, it changes to, he said he was happy.
Oh, I see. That makes it really useful for telling stories about conversations.
Yes, it is. Think about how often we actually tell someone what another person said in our daily lives.
That's true. I say things like, my boss said he would give me feedback, or my mom said she would visit next month.
See, you're already using this naturally without even realizing it.
That's the beauty of learning through everyday language.
Exactly. Once you notice these patterns, it feels like your English is improving without effort.
Are there common expressions with would that we should know too?
Oh yes, there are several fixed expressions that are really helpful.
I'd love to hear them.
Okay, the first one is, I would love to. It's used when you really want to do something.
For example, I would love to visit Paris someday, or I would love to meet her.
Perfect. It sounds enthusiastic, but still polite and friendly.
I like that. What's another one?
Another common one is, it would be nice if.
Like, it would be nice if we had more time.
Exactly. It expresses a wish or gentle hope. It's very soft and polite.
That's useful. And there's one I hear a lot. I would think so. What does that mean?
That one means you believe something is true, but you're not 100% certain.
So if someone asks, is the store open? I can say, I would think so.
Right. It's a softer way of saying yes. You're giving your opinion without sounding too definite.
Oh, I like that. It feels thoughtful.
Another useful expression is, I wouldn't worry about it.
That's to reassure someone, right?
Exactly. For example, I wouldn't worry about the test, or I wouldn't stress about that. It's comforting.
And how about I would say?
I would say introduces your opinion or an estimate. For example, I would say it takes about 2 hours, or I would say she's around 30 years old.
So it softens the statement?
Yes, it shows that you're giving your perspective rather than claiming absolute truth.
These expressions really add a lot of nuance to conversations.
They do. Native speakers use them all the time to sound polite and thoughtful.
Can you give me some real-life situations where would is essential?
Sure. Let's start with job interviews. You might say, I would be happy to take on that responsibility, or I would welcome the opportunity to learn more.
That sounds much more professional than just saying, I want to do it.
Exactly. Using would shows you're considerate and thoughtful rather than demanding.
What about in dating situations, like when Lily and I first met?
Ah, yes. You could say, would you like to get coffee sometime? Or would you be interested in seeing a movie?
Much better than, do you want to go out with me?
Exactly. It's low pressure and gives the other person an easy way to say no.
And saying, I would love that, makes it sound enthusiastic, too.
Right. There's a big difference in tone in enthusiasm.
What about travel or ordering food?
Great examples. You might say, I would like a window seat if possible. Or, would you happen to have a vegetarian option?
Or, I would prefer the later flight.
Exactly. All of these sound polite, professional, and mature.
I like that. Using would really does feel like a politeness superpower.
It is. And when you use it consciously, people respond positively without even knowing why.
That's amazing. I'm going to start using it more often.
That's great. But let's also talk about a common mistake learners make with would.
Oh, what is it?
One big mistake is putting would in the if clause.
Can you explain?
Sure. Wrong. If I would have money, I would buy it. Correct. If I had money, I would buy it.
Oh, so would always goes in the result clause, not in the condition.
Exactly. That's a mistake almost every learner makes at least once.
I see. So we always remember if plus past tense, would plus base verb.
Yes, that's the key pattern for hypotheticals.
Exactly, Jack. The if part always uses the simple past tense.
And the result clause uses would, never both in the same part of the sentence.
So I should say, if I knew the answer, I would tell you, not if I would know the answer.
Perfect. That's a very common mistake learners make.
Another one I struggle with is confusing would and will.
Ah, yes. Will is for the real future, something you actually plan to do, while would is for hypotheticals or polite situations.
For example, I will go to the party tomorrow is a real plan.
And I would go if I had time is hypothetical, depending on a condition.
So the situation really determines which one we use.
Exactly. And notice the difference in promises.
How do you mean?
Well, I will help you is a promise, but I would help you is conditional.
Right, like I would help you if you asked. There's an implied condition.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it makes a big difference in meaning.
This is starting to make more sense now.
Here's something even more interesting. Would can change meaning depending on intonation.
Really? So the same sentence can mean different things just by stressing a word?
Yes. For example, I would help you, with stress on would, often implies I want to help, but there's a problem.
Like saying, I would come to your party, but I have to work.
Exactly. The stress shows desire plus limitation.
And without stressing would?
Then it just states a hypothetical fact neutrally, without extra emphasis.
So listening for stress in speech can help me understand the meaning better.
Absolutely. Native speakers use stress constantly to add nuance. Let's do a quick practice. You give me a situation, and I make a sentence with would.
Game on. First scenario, imaginary. You can fly anywhere in the world right now.
Oh, fun. If I could fly anywhere, I would go to Japan. I've always wanted to see the cherry blossoms.
Beautiful example. Next scenario, polite request. Asking someone to repeat something.
Would you mind repeating that? I didn't quite catch it.
Perfect. Now, past habit. Something you did as a child.
When I was little, I would build forts in my room every weekend. My mom would pretend to be surprised every time.
That's adorable. Next, preferences. Coffee or tea?
I would rather have coffee, please. Extra strong, if possible.
Of course you would. Perfect scores on all of them.
I feel like I just passed a test.
You did with flying colors. Now let's recap all our would patterns.
Great idea. Pattern 1. Hypothetical situations. If plus past tense, would plus base verb.
Examples: if I won the lottery, I would travel. If I were you, I would call her. The key is that the situation is imaginary.
Pattern 2. Polite requests using would you or would you mind.
For example, would you pass the salt? Or would you mind helping me? Much softer than will you.
Pattern 3. Polite offers. Would you like or would you like to join us?
Like, would you like some water? Or would you like to join us? It shows hospitality and care.
Pattern 4. Past habits. Repeated actions in the past.
I would visit my grandma every Sunday. She would always sing in the morning, similar to used to, but only for actions.
Pattern 5. Preferences using would rather.
I would rather stay home. I'd rather not. Great for soft refusals and polite choices.
Pattern 6. Reported speech. Will becomes would.
She said she would come later. He promised he would help. And phrases like, that would be great.
That would be great. Perfect response to offers.
Exactly. For example, would you like coffee? That would be great, thank you.
I love it. It feels natural and polite.
And there you have it, 6 main patterns, plus common expressions, past habits, preferences, and reporting speech.
I feel so confident using would now in all these situations.
That's the goal. With practice, it will start to feel completely natural.